from Savagasi. And he did his MSc Pondicherry University with a very high percentile. Then after his, he did his PhD. Such a novel area. He has published more than 50 papers with high impact factor. He has been selected the Marie Curie International Incoming Fellowship also. But at the same time, he has joined in the permanent position. Then awarded 2005 to 6, awarded of Research Fellowship by Indian Institute of Science, IISc Bangalore. Awarded Junior and Senior Fellowship. And the graduate level, he has 99.62% with a very good academic record. Such a eminent personality with us. He is hail from Savagasi. I think Savagasi in and around, I think so. Why I am saying this? When I talking with him, he said, one of our famous professor from Surya Prakash, from Pondicherry University, he gave lecture in the Anja College. That time itself exposed or radiated. Exposure, that kind of exposure. Arranging such a seminar is we have 170 students, at least 2-3 students motivated, then move into higher level. The objective of this seminar is to expose what are the avenues, opportunities, how we can come across, how we can reach. And also the taste of research, taste of study. Nowadays, we know pretty well the taste of using electronic gadgets. But this is not useful for us. Of course, certain times useful, but the taste of study, taste of research, that leads to success in your life. Such a eminent personality, behalf of our department, behalf of our management, I wholeheartedly welcome, sir. Now over to Dr. Nithyanandhan. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hello. First of all, thanks to that we do. Before that, I don't want to go into too much of research stuff. Rather, I just thought of discussing with you to say that, to share some of my experience so that, it will be of useful to you, maybe useful to you. Sir said like, out of 170, 2 to 3, why not all? The question is, what are the pathways? At least, I'm not going to say all the pathways, at least what are the pathways that we kind of seen and followed and eventually like where we are now, okay? So how many of you in this, அது எப்படி slide மாத்துறது எப்படி? Oh, okay. Okay. So, அப்படிங்களா? Maybe I can stand there and it's okay, no? It's okay. Maybe I can stand there, right? No problem. Okay. How many of you are in the second year MSc? Just you can raise. Second year MSc? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What about third year BSc?
Raise your hand.
Yeah, it's good. So what next? Maybe you will be graduating within another 2 months. I'm sure all of you will graduate. So what are your plans? Okay, you don't have to tell, like we need to think about it. It's not about, we are not going to ask you each and everything, what's your plan and all. But I'm sure that there is some kind of thinking process that you all have. Similarly, the students at second year MSc also, okay? Maybe I'll stand there, no problem. Okay, next. No, higher studies you can, I'm sure that, especially I recommend or I suggest who are the students, they are in the third year BSc. Look for, if you want to go in the higher studies, at least look for, joining a MSc in universities. Like it's a very hard, it's highly competitive, but, everybody is having the same competition. Like, it's not that only you. Like each and every one of you will be having, or like, the whole, nation, everybody is trying to do their best in their university, right? Some higher studies in some better place. Because the exposure in like universities will give you a kind of perspective. Like, உங்களுடைய பார்வையே டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக இருக்கும். Like you are not going to be seeing only chemistry, because you will meet a lot of different departments, different friends, different culture. That will like make you a perfect, like when you go higher and higher. But that's besides your studies. Of course, you have to do well in your studies. Of course, these are the additional points that you always get it. The other thing is institute like, ISER, IITs, and NICER, even IASC. Okay. For example, you have done your MSc now. Maybe next, how you can get into these like places where you can be exposed to the state of art facilities for your research. That's that one option. The next option is CSR laboratories. Of course, like, where I come from. Yes, anybody knows what is a CSIR? You can tell, what is CSIR? How many of you have written or going to write the exam? What is CSIR? Please, like, just I can tell you one thing. Like 20 years or 23 years back, I was like you. I am sitting in on a corner, listening to what they are going to say, right? There's nothing. What is CSIR? Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Okay? Yeah. Maybe I understand. Okay, next. Wait. Yeah, just to go to the previous one. Previous. The other option is like job opportunities. Like, if you want to expose yourself into a kind of job, people can look at it, pharma or chemical industry and some polymers and quality control. It's not that you need to go for a job. I think you can expose. Like, you go and gain some experience it's not the end of the world. You can gain experience. Okay, if you feel that you need to go for higher studies, please feel free to explore that possibility also. That's one of the nice. Just you know what industry needs and what the pharma needs. Okay. Please. Okay, good. Now, considering coming back to what is Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, right? If you talk about it, right, we don't have anything before independence. You understand, right? So when we got independence, or about to get independence, even Britishers thought that we need to have a lot of kind of research laboratories in India. We need to be established because their motive is slightly different, but still, but what they did was we need to have a lot of research laboratory that supports industry. So then the Prime Minister, after the independence, we have the first Prime Minister with the support of all the, recommendations. In the country, we have something like 38 research laboratories. Do you know which is the nearest CSIR labs near to you? Yes, very happy to hear about it. Yes, we have Sikri Karaikudi. This is electrochemical research. They talk about battery, they talk about corrosion. Yes, we are seeing a lot of steels around it. They really see that the bridges made up of all the things. They will worry about the things are not get corroded. They comes for a longer time. That's one of the nearest lab that we have. Okay. Of course, fortunately, we have one more lab in Chennai, the Leather Institute, CLRI. Similarly, if you see electrochemical, I said, and leather, I said, they are not connected. Similarly, across the country, we have 38 labs. Okay, somebody is working on woods, somebody works on buildings, somebody works on glass, somebody works on physical chemistry, so physics related research. Where I come from is a chemical. Okay, this is called the National Chemical Laboratory. This is one of the laboratory across the CSR funding. Okay, of course we have different funding technology. The reason I said is that you can get the funding from DBT, like DAE. For example, there's a BARC, Kalpakam, right? Kalpakam, this Hanuman Shakti Nilayam and all we have, right? That comes under DAE. We have BARC, Baba Research Atomic Center in Mumbai. So we have several bodies, Department of Science and Technology, Atomic Energy, Biotechnology. This is Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. Where we come from is under the DSIR. Okay? And of course I said, the first Prime Minister thought about everything. It's not only we need physical or chemical, all the things in all the areas. So, and the motto is they also need to work closely with the industry. So they can do research, at the same time they support the industry so that the economy of the country will increase. But at that time we don't have anything. Because now if you say something, I'm very happy to see that if I ask you a question, okay, I want to do something about electrochemistry, you can say that, okay, there is a SICRI. 75 years or 8 years back, there was nothing. Because every institute is built with a specific fund, mandates. and they have been very successfully interacting with the industry, and it's good for the country overall, right? So this is just I spend a minute, like this is the, I am welcome all of you to visit NCL, this is National Chemical Laboratory. Once you enter, like you write something, you read something passage like this, like line. The purpose of this laboratory is to advance knowledge and to apply chemical science for the good of the people. Okay, that's a very, very powerful statement. This is one of the very, very simple and powerful statement. It contains everything. You can do basic science. You need to do also do the applied science. And it's eventually for what? For whom? For us, the people of the country. Okay. And of course, this is inaugurated by, Pandit Nehru. And the gentleman you are seeing is that Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. I think we have the fellowship name after him. Like, if you are right to CSIR, if you are the top 5% and, you are eligible to apply for the second exam, that's named after his, Professor Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Okay. In NCL, okay, I said about in general, in NCL, it's a National Chemical Laboratory. Of course, we have physical chemistry, materials chemistry, organic chemistry, catalysis, chemical engineering, and of course, we also have some biochemical division. So it's not that we confine only to chemistry, but many of the time it's a kind of highly interdisciplinary research that you do, so that we interact. The one good thing about NCL is chemical engineering. Chemical engineering. இப்போ நம்ம வீட்டில் ஒரு 10 பேர் வீட்டுக்கு வந்தாங்கன்னா காஃபி போட்டுருவோம் இல்லையா? சடனாக 1000 பேர் வந்தாங்கன்னா என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க நீங்கள்? யாராவது ஒரு ஆள் சொல்லுங்க. Yeah, I think that's a, no, I think what I'm saying is that it's nice. Just when we do research in the laboratory, we handle only like small amount, like we say gram or something like that, right? But suddenly somebody is asking me, give me 1,000 kilograms. In a research laboratory, they cannot do. So that's where the engineering comes into picture. Engineers will plan, okay? Because coffee means it's not just adding water, right? We need to add milk, we need to add sugar in a right proportion so that the coffee taste is not changed at all. So the chemical engineering, something like that. They'll think about always big things. So of course, the civil engineering, anything you talk about it, they don't talk about a very small, the volume. They talk always about a big volume, constructing a building, bridge, like you cannot imagine, right? But of course, the chemical engineering, something like that, of scaling up. And scaling up with the process intensification in the sense that less cost. Okay, so something that's very unique in NCL, where you have chemical engineering, in the sense that நீங்கள் ஏதாவது புதுசாக கண்டுபிடிச்சிங்கன்னா அது சப்போஸ் கன்சிடர் தட் அதுக்கு நீங்கள் மார்க்கெட் எடுத்துகிட்டு போகணுன்னா அதுக்கும் ஒரு சொல்யூஷன் இருக்கும். ஓகே, புதுசாக கண்டுபிடிக்கிறப்ப ஒரு ஆளுக்கு 2 பேருக்கு நம்ம இது சப்ளை பண்ணால் போதும். பட் பப்ளிக் போகிறப்ப நம்ம எத்தனை மக்கள் தொகை எவ்வளோ இந்தியாவில் இப்போ? வாட்ஸ் த பாப்புலேஷன் நவ்? சவுண்ட் லவுட், பி லவுட், யூ ஹேவ் டு பி லவுட், யூ கேன் பி ராங். 140, okay, I may be also wrong. 140 கோடி, okay. But when you are thinking about some innovation or discovery with some application, you are not talking about only you. Of course, you are discovering, but eventually you are talking about 140, not only 140, even the global also can use it, right? Okay. So the chemical engineering is such a thing, you need to think about it, okay. And of course, in each, எத்தனை பேருக்கு இதில் how many of you like organic? Organic chemistry? How many of you inorganic? How many of you physical chemistry? Looks like I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, it doesn't matter, of course, like, it's okay. So, like each and everything, like even organic synthesis, if you consider organic chemistry, you can make molecule. For example, if you are talking about drug, Simplest drug I can tell you, what is the simplest drug everybody used now? Paracetamol, right? Anybody aware about how it was synthesized? It's a one step or multi-step. Like, you need to do some kind of transformation. But not only that, like how to increase the yield of every reaction, that's one thing, methodology, or how to improve the reduce the number of steps, everything. So in each and everything, we have different, sub research topics. Like somebody will be saying that, for example, when I was like you, I was always amazed with the organic chemistry. We call organic chemistry. Of course, I also doing normally okay with other subject, but I have specific interest in organic chemistry. That means, I can go one step always ahead. Okay, the teacher is going to teach me something I know. I already read it because of the interest. Okay, of course, several of you will be having, but not only that, you can also have interest in any of the research topics. Right? Like, somebody will be interested in physical and materials because the nanochemistry is coming up in a big way. Nanomaterials, nanochemistry, the properties are completely different from the bulk. Okay? So somebody will be in chiral synthesis because chiral compounds are very important. I'm sure that everybody is aware, right? You have R and S. Because one can be your drug, another can be your, maybe poison. So, with these things, very minute details, your research interest can be diversified. Like it's upon individual choice. So there are choices available here. Okay. Not only that, as I said, when after the independence, as we don't have any expert in India, the first 10 years, we spend a lot of time in dyes. Actually, for example, most of the guys we are wearing jeans. What's the dye in that blue jeans? Maybe I can ask. Do you know what's the color in the blue jeans? That we are always wear, right? What's the chemical compound? I'm saying. Right? We have different colors. Yes, indigo, right? So that's very. Because we don't go there, of course, there are methods by which we are extracting that time. Then we should know the chemistry, we should know the process. And the next 10 years, we spend a lot of time in pharma. Thanks to Srimati Indira Gandhi, because she did a lot of modification in bringing the cost of the drugs very low. Because, for example, you can go to the shop, you can get a 1 rupee, we can get a tablet. Unless her effect is not there, I'm sure that you would have spent one tablet, we will be paying something like a 50 rupees or 60 rupees. Yes, there is something called generic drugs, and there is some kind of paper work she has done, so that everybody can synthesize. Not everybody means whoever is having a company, they can synthesize without following the protocol of patent and everything, okay? But after that, like a pharma, then agrochemicals. I think, recently, Professor M.S. Swaminathan has conferred a Bharat Ratna. He did a phenomenal job in Green Revolution. But at the same time, there's also an importance of having agrochemicals, fertilizers. Mostly the agrochemicals, we have the weed killers and everything. There's a lot of research has gone around 1980s. And after 10 years, then it's an era of new materials, nanochemistry, nanomaterials, because the properties are entirely different. Are you getting the point? Hello? Nanochemistry, yes, when you are comparing the properties, if you take a bulk rod of iron and if you make nano iron particle, the properties are entirely different. Okay? And now the era is, fortunately, one student asked me, he wanted to start a business. Yes, now we can be an entrepreneur. It's not only that you need to, with your interest, you can do the research and you can be academician, you can be in the academic or you can be in the company. இல்லாட்டா நீங்களே ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம், ஒரு தொழிலை நீங்களே ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம். ஓகே, எனக்கு இதில் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட்டு. இப்போ ஆல்வா எடிசன் அப்படி தான் பண்ணார். ஹீ இஸ் ஏ கிரேட் இன்வென்டர் அஸ் வெல் அஸ் ஏ பிஸ்னஸ் மேன். எனக்கு இந்த ப்ராடக்ட்டில் தான் எனக்கு ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட்டாக இருக்குன்னு சொல்லி தென் ஹீ வென்ச்சர்ட் இன் டு இட். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் பல்ப், 120 years back, we don't have concept of the electric bulb. But now we have very nice LED, like, that lighting also is gone into several transformation. We have mercury vapor lamp, then there are like, arc lamps. Now we have LEDs and other things, right? Okay, so NCL also has contributed a lot to the society. For example, we have done like, the water purification system, and of course a lot of pan pure. It's basically a tablet, and these are all like a kind of, this is again one of the drug molecules. And we also have fuel cell, like nowadays, you will be very happy to see a lot of EV, right? Electric vehicles. You will be hearing about hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So there are a lot of things are coming up now. Yes, basically what people want to do is that they want to avoid the petrol. Not avoid means at least reduce the amount of usage of petrol. Okay. For example, now you will be seeing only 10% of the car is with the green light. Within down the line, with the 20 years, when you become like me, you will see that only green cars. And when the next generation comes, they will see entirely different things. Okay. Of course, for that we need some kind of research, right? Like things may not happen on its own. Yeah, the thing starts from within ourselves only, right? Yes, we need to equip the materials required for it. Something we may import, something we may export, but still we are the people to to see the change to be occurred. நம்ம change நம்ம பார்க்கிறதுக்கு நம்ம தான் ready பண்ணணும். So that's where the research comes into picture. Why we have to do research? Okay, we need to identify a problem, then we aspire for it, work on it, and it may not be a one-day issue. It's not like a one-day match. The same day you will see the result. It's like you need to really keep on going for years. Okay, so that's one of the things. But of course, it comes with a lot of other benefits also. Like anyway, you are enjoying your rewards, like new findings, papers, patents. Okay. Okay. That's I just thought of saying, like the present time, like if we are more interested in how to have new materials for energy, in the sense that energy materials, in the sense that let us not use the oil. Can anyone tell how we are getting the electricity? How the electricity is produced? You can tell quickly, it's a kind of interactive session. You don't have to worry about. We are using electricity, right? Yeah. We are using the electricity, right? How it was produced? Yes, say it. Sorry? No, we are using how the electricity is produced. So what they will do? See, it's really nice thing. Thermal power station, right? What they will do? For heat energy is converted into mechanical energy. Yeah, heat energy is converted into mechanical energy. Sorry. Right. Heat energy is converted to mechanical energy, then mechanical energy into electricity. It's a very simple concept, right? Yes, when I was a kid, like, we always have the cycle with the dynamo. It's a very simple concept. I don't know how many of you have the cycle with the dynamo now? No, only two-wheelers. Huh? Or anybody have seen the dynamo? Cycle. Have you seen it? You understand that it's a very simple concept. What you have is the dynamo, the electromotive induction or electromagnetic induction by Michael Faraday. So he did a very simple discovery or invention. Then we are enjoying that, the fruit of his discovery, right? So, but the heat energy has to be given by burning something, right? The burning the coal or burning the oil or anything whatever you are thinking about, okay? But we don't want the burning now. Just we are also polluting the system with carbon dioxide, other things. So that's why the solar energy, anyway, the solar, people talk about energy, tidal energy, wind energy, because the other things are very easy. Whether the fan is rotating, then you have the dynamo, or like, or like electric, this water. Near means Shaktila, then I think anyway, water is falls on the fan, then it rotates something, because something has to move. Okay. Anyway, I think these are the few scientists. I think some of you, I'm sure that they would have visited MKU. It's a kind of representative. Okay, you don't have to take it. Like Professor Sena Rao. How many of you heard about Professor Sena Rao? Yeah. I would say that he's a father of modern chemistry. Like he put enormous amount of efforts in the last 50 to 60 years to bring the science in the country. I think Professor Balram, Professor Mehta, Professor Bakshi, Mukesh. Of course, not only this is the first woman scientist. Like she got the PhD in India. Ashima Chatterjee, Darshan Ranganathan. Of course, I'm sure that everybody may have Dr. Yamuna Krishnan. Okay. She's a kind of our contemporary, now she's in US, okay? Of course, there are some quote, like you don't have to take it, where nature finishes producing its own species, man begins using natural things and with the help of this nature to create infinity of species. Just we are learning, we are seeing the nature and trying to mimic it, and we are also finding out a number of other properties, right? Discovery, I think one thing you need to know, there is the people always confuse between discovery, invention, innovation. Discovery is not something there is something in the nature that for the first time we are unveiling. For example, DNA is a double helix or something. Invention is that, you are making use of the discovery. Of course, for example, unless we don't understand the gravity, you would have not thought about the anti-gravity machine, right? Like for example, aeroplane, we are using it. But that's what the discovery is. You are establishing what is a known fact, okay? And that's what the very simple words he says that by understanding the nature, you can create new species and new properties, all these things, okay? Of course, there is another famous woman scientist. It's not near. It's like 200, 300 years back. Even that time, there was women are not going to study. There are a lot of opposition. Even I assure you that the most wonderful and the most interesting phenomenon of nature are almost produced by chemical powers. So they could be able to see the sense of chemistry or the power of chemistry at that time, okay? Of course, this is another genius from Richard Feynman. Everything in the living things can be understood in terms of jiggling and wiggling of atoms. This comes down to the atoms. With that, I think this is a different architecture you can see. When you look at the architecture, similarly, you can think of organic molecules. For example, what organic chemistry will do, they will try to connect with the atoms, whether it's a carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and they will try to make different molecules. It's not cyclohexane here. Eventually, we end up in making a lot of organic molecules. And this is one of the very first molecule by Wohler. This is the first organic molecule discovered in the nature. It's a Wohler. Of course, now you can think of very complex molecule like a Taxol. You can think of, it's like in a matter of 200 years, not more than that. Now we have the understanding about how to plan a reaction, how to do a reaction. And not only that, there are several scientists worked hard to come up with a plan, okay, how to execute a synthesis. It's not like, we are doing a one step or two step. For example, Professor Woodward, Professor Corey, they have done a phenomenal work in 1960s to have a method of, arriving a structural and a plan for the synthesis. What it means is that now the complexity increases and, you can have different structures. Then again, this is one molecule you can think of. It was synthesized by Professor Kishi. It's having more than 50 chiral centers in the sense that they are optically active and they could be able to get only one isomer by synthesis. This is one of the, they talk about Mount Everest of organic synthesis. It's a mycotoxin. It's again synthesized by a chemist here, all right? Let me ask you, stop your question. When you are looking around, there are a lot of things you are looking around, right? Why the leaves are green? Yeah? Chlorophyll, right? And why the fruits are colors? Yeah, anthocyanin, carotenes. And for example, yes, it's a beta carotene, and you have chlorophyll. What about here? This is kind of anthocyanin and carotene. Yes, if you see around, if you start to ask the question, right? If you want to be a scientist, it doesn't matter. The first thing what you have to do is that you have to start ask questions surrounding you. Doesn't matter why this is like that. You may not get the answer, but you keep asking questions, right? But it's all, I can tell you one thing, one of the power of, or one of the joy of being a chemist is that you can try to, if you look at the surroundings, you can understand everything is made up of chemicals, and then you can understand the structure, then you can get some idea about how it works, right? Of course, like, there are other things, like, why when you are cutting the onion, people start to cry, right? Is there any reason for it? Okay, that's a kind of defense mechanism. A chemical is produced. Just think about it. When you are cutting the onion, only that time only the chemical is produced. It's not that that chemical is not stored inside. Okay? It's a defensive mechanism that nature does. Right? And of course, there is a lot of n number of organic molecules you can think of. And not only that, at the end of the day, not single molecules are not going to do anything. Like, the molecule has to contact with each other. It's like, through different forces, like, like whatever we talked about is a primary bonds, like, but when you talk about understanding the property, not only the single molecule, also you have kind of interaction between the molecule by hydrogen bond or cation pi or pi, lot of other secondary interactions, okay, which may be very weak, but when the number is very high, that's very powerful. For example, you can think of, the Gulliver Lilliputians. Anybody read that story? Gulliver Lilliputians? So what did you understand? Basically, you can think of the, This is basically because of you are thinking of very weak forces, but when the number is very high, even it can exceed the covalent bond, okay? Of course, you have assemblies, like, the way your mother washes your clothes, I hope she helps for you. She does simple supramolecular chemistry. Like, she does the soap solution and just, soak it in for some time. She happily removes the dirt. There are a lot of science goes on there. You can think of, like, there's oil dissolves, how the oil dissolves in water. Basically, let's say oil and water are not miscible, right? But when you add some kind of surfactant, you can make it miscible. That's the basic things behind the kind of how the soap removes some kind of oil from any material, right? Okay. Now, let's come back to the photochemistry, that topic I'm trying to introduce. The photochemistry is nothing, okay? Basically, you have a organic, any molecule, it can be organic or inorganic. When you shine the light, what may happen, okay, for a short time? For example, there is a lot of, different types of activation is there, right? Like, one can heat. I'm sure that you would have all studied the Arrhenius equation, how the heat reflects on the rate of the reaction. But at the same time, you can also give different activation, like, you can give light or you can give current, okay? Molecule respond to it because all the molecules are, as I said, like it's made up of bonds. Again, the bonds are made up of electrons, okay? Whether you are talking about, eventually you are activating the electron or by light or heat or potential or current. You can have different kind of activation. So one of the idea what we have is that, okay, we have a HOMO. Like if you look at a molecule and you have a LUMO, when you excite the light, with appropriate light, if the energy gap between the HOMO and LUMO matches, basically you can promote an electron from HOMO to LUMO. This is a very simple one. Photochemistry you can understand by only the electron promotion from one orbital to another orbital momentarily. It's not that going to be stay there a long time. Okay, just this process can happen. I can say that in femtosecond. You'll be worried about. Don't worry about what is femtosecond. It's a very short time scale. It's like 10 power minus 15 seconds. But before it relaxes to the ground state, yes, it's not going to be there for a long time. Before it relaxes, it does wonders. Yes, people develop fluorescence material, or people also like develop phosphorescent material, and also we can do chemistry with that. Okay. Yes, we are doing chemistry. Like, the way, do you know what is the mechanism behind the vision? We are seeing each other, right? You know what happens? Like when the light strikes on the eye, can anyone tell what's happening? We are doing a reaction in our eye. We have a molecule called rhodopsin. Yeah, we are not a molecule. We have a protein called rhodopsin in our eye. And there is a molecule called retinol. That's a double bond isomerization can happen every time. That's why I could be able to see you, the different colors, different objects, everything. If the protein is not working well, then there's a problem with the color sensing cell. Then eventually it leads to some other problems. Very simple things. For example, of course, light, people thought about it. Like, at least now we have some idea of what is light. But like kind of 50 BC, people always worried about what is light, what is made up of, whether it's a particle or wave. Like, there's a lot of things are happening. Particularly like Newton said it's a particle, Maxwell said it's a waves, and Max Planck, this is a very, very important like a person. He said it's a kind of quantized. It's not continuous. It's a quantized. And we have Albert Einstein, the famous photoelectric effect came out. And we have Niels Bohr, and very importantly, de Broglie. He said that this is a like kind of dual nature of the light. It can access a light as well as particle, right? Like wave and particle. But so when we talk about photochemistry, like of course, we vary from, we can think of the X-ray to radio waves, but we worry only about the visible light, like what we are able to see. Like, the idea is that something like a 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer, that's what our eyes respond. Like either lesser than 400 or higher than 800, the eyes will not respond. Things may be there, but we won't respond. Like our eyes may not detect it. And of course, one of the nice things is that each wavelength comes with its own energy. Okay, it's like we can heat some sample around 100 degree for 2 hours. It's very equivalent to like giving a short pulse of light for like just a fraction of a second. So that's the thing we are talking about, because 400 nanometer like light has something like a 71 kilocal. What is a typical carbon-carbon bond energy? Now you are studying, right? What is a carbon-carbon single bond energy? Any idea? Energy means how much energy I need to provide to make the bond, or how much energy will be released. Sorry, it's the other way around. How much energy is released when the carbon-carbon bond formed? Or, sorry, 80? Yes, well, that's a very good number. 80 kilocal per mole. It's very nice. It's like, of course, close. It can vary with different types. It's maybe 80 to 100 kilocal per mole. Okay, but light also has some kind of potential. Like, you can it means energy. 400 nanometer has something like a 71.5, whereas like 700 nanometer has something like a 48 kilocal. So you need to think about always the wave number or wavelength and the energy, how much energy is associated with that, right? Yes, any chemical transformation that you want to do, we need some energy. Of course, like, though it's not the olden days, like now we have different light sources. You can link of like, arc lamp. Now it's very recently, LEDs are available. That means we can choose whatever the color that we want. Basically, if you look at this color, right, we can choose any color that we want from the LED now. So that's, the technology is so sophisticated. Even I'm very happy, like nowadays you can see a lot of LED lights you will be having during the festival time, right? That all comes up with a very specific wavelength. Anyway, thanks. Of course, this is very general Jablonski diagram. You may would have studied now, or you may, maybe the undergraduate students may be studying now, or will be studying soon. This is a very simple concept of Jablonski diagram. Light absorption, it deactivates, you can have internal conversion, or intersystem crossing, or light emission. These fluorescence and phosphorescence, I'm sure that nowadays you are seeing LED TV, right? LED TV. It's not it's not like CRO that before that what we had. It's nowadays, the present days, last few years we have LED TVs. And thanks to these concepts like fluorescence or phosphorescence, so that you had different colors with quick response. It's not like in a very delayed one. Of course, you can think of, it's very easy. Like when you shine the light, basically what you are doing is that if there is any non-bonded electrons in the system, it can excite. Next, it can go to the bonding electrons, like a pi bond. So most of the time, the organic molecules will have a non-bonding orbital to pi star orbital, or pi to pi star, like a very simple terms, okay? And I think it is a very famous, I like this one because, when you have very less space, you can have hand pumps either this direction or this direction. Only thing is, if it is this, this configuration is something is there, you need to have very less space, right? If somebody is having very less space, you can have this kind of conformation. Similarly, something happens in our eyes. That's what I said some time back, because this is a rhodopsin, and you have the retinal. This is the primary process by which the vision process starts. For example, one of the easiest reaction you can think of is isomerization. I'm sure that you have cis isomerization, or cis isomer or trans isomer. You have that, right, with respect to the double bond. Again, the photochemically induced reaction is very effective, but this is one of the very simplest reaction you can think of. Basically, you excite, and the cis double bond can go to the trans double bond very selectively, even though it has other several double bonds. The selectivity comes because, you have protein around it. These proteins are the peptides. When you develop the idea of a protein, it may not allow the other double bonds to isomerize. So that's the reason why this reaction is very selective. If you take the, this chromophore out, you will get n number of products. So the reason I'm saying here is that, if you take this chromophore, and if you shine the light, you will get more than 10 products. But in the protein, you will get only one product. That's a selectivity offered by the nature, or the protein. Okay? Of course, you can also give, that's something called green fluorescence protein. Now, the light is completely used for fluorescence, in the sense that the molecule cannot isomerize. Even though it has one double bond, technically it can isomerize because of the constraint offered by this protein. It's like rigid. We were frozen, right? I don't know how many of you went in this situation. So it's something like that. All the hands are tied up for this molecule. It cannot rotate, or it cannot move around. Okay. Of course, there is a lot of photochromic molecules one can think of. Basically, you are doing a reaction. Basically, it's a spiroperin. It's a myrocyanine. What you need to do is that you just shine the light. You do this, you cleave this bond very efficiently. But this is colored. Yes, this is why, somebody is having the specs. When you get into the sunlight, automatically the color of your specs is turned into something other colors. Or you can have the window also. They are called smart windows. And again, it's not going to be there as such. Once the color, the temperature or anything is another activation comes out, it comes back. So it's like if you leave it for some time. So these kind of materials find wide application in several, smart windows, smart glasses. So whenever you want something color to be changed, you can have the color. And by modulating the structure, you can have either, I just showed the blue color because we work on this molecule, but you can have a number of other colors like yellow or red, depending upon the molecule that you are working on, okay? Yeah, I think, how many of you have seen the fireflies? Maybe I'll ask this section. How many of you seen the fireflies? Yeah, Minmani Puchi, yeah, Minmani Puchi. What happens actually? Anyone. Maybe I will ask you a question very differently. நம்ம தீபாவளிக்கெல்லாம் பட்டாசு போடுறோம் இல்லைங்களா, கலர் ஏன் வருது? வெடிக்கிறதுனால சவுண்டு தான் வரும். அது சரி, ஓகே. சால்ட்டுக்கு என்ன ஆகுது? Anyone? You want to say? So, fireworks அப்போ எது கலர் வருது? ஓகே, நான் வந்து ஸ்டான்சியம் யூஸ் பண்ணால் சிவப்பு கலர் வருது, பேரியம் யூஸ் பண்ணால் க்ரீன் கலர் வருது. Why it comes, color comes? Okay, why the flame test there is a color, right? There is, sorry? Yes. Obviously there is some excitation he needs, right? Yeah. No. Excite ஆகிறது, then it comes back to the ground state. Yeah, right. He is correct. Actually, now what he said is correct. Like there is a excitation followed by the electron comes back to the ground state. During that time you are getting the color, either strontium or barium or anything. But the only thing is how the molecules are getting excited. Here we are doing it a hot excitation. Like we are burning, that heat energy puts electron to the higher level. Are you getting it? Yeah? Okay. I think we will move on. I think, of course, this is the same thing. In மின்முனி பூச்சியில் ஒரு biochemical reaction நடக்குது. அந்த reaction வளர எனர்ஜியில் வந்து, of course, there are two reactions, right? Two types of reactions. One I can tell, I will tell you endothermic reaction. What is another one? What it means? So energy is released during a reaction, right? But sometimes that energy can be also absorbed by another system. That energy keeps a molecule in the excited state. It's similarly like that. It's also thermal excitation. So yeah, you do the biochemical reaction. In the Minmuni Puchila, there is a biochemical reaction during which some energy is released, and that energy helps for the molecule to excite. Okay, then you will be seeing the emission. What all you need is that you need excitation. Okay, so of course we can use, like, what we do. I think how many of you have seen during the some festival time they will use the LED band, right? Have you seen that? Oh, okay. Okay, I think with this. Now, how many of you have seen these kind of bands? Now, what you do is that you will see a colorless one. If you break it, then the color comes out. Anybody have seen it? So basically what happens is that there is a reaction. Basically, this material is in one thing and the base is in the other wire. Like, when you break it, this reaction happens. Basically, you will have the intermediate. When it releases or breaks down, this gives the energy to the dye. Eventually the dye, like, emits a light. So there's a lot of processes are happening here, okay? But you don't have to worry. Only thing is that it's like a chemical reaction driven excitation, okay? And I think, with this, we'll come back to the very important one, okay? People are now really worried about it. Like, what is the photosynthesis? So you take carbon dioxide and not you take, the plants take carbon dioxide and water and convert it into glucose and oxygen. It's a very simple reaction, right? Looks like very simple, okay? But it has gone into several, experiments and to understand why these things are happening in this case. Of course, I don't want to go into kind of tell here. What is happening here is that there is a water, then there is a carbon dioxide, and there is a light reaction. Basically, what you are doing is that the earth survives because of a very simple reaction called water splitting. You need to split the water so that you can get proton, electron, and oxygen. So oxygen, we use it. Like in fact, every human being also, we are polluting that system, okay? We are continuously giving carbon dioxide out, right? If you're considering about carbon dioxide is bad, we are saying we are also human being also, the respiration, we are giving the carbon dioxide out. But the plants, it does the other way around. That's very peculiar about it. But even now, the scientific community across the globe, they are worried and they want to have a catalyst to split the water. Yes, we have a lot of water, but if we split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, that's very nice. That's what one of the things we said some time back. Now, at least we are seeing some kind of electrical vehicle, but in the future, you will see only electrical vehicle run by only hydrogen. But again, if the hydrogen comes from water, then there is no pollution. The system sustain for somewhat longer time. The system means the earth we are talking about. That's the idea. Okay. Of course, like the photosynthesis is not something like we are talking only last 100. Like it is for there for billions of years. Even in all the places, if you take the earth, this is something I just took it from the Wikipedia. But what it says is that every part of the earth, you have some kind of photosynthesis happening in terms of plant or in terms of bacteria or in terms of algae. For example, even in the ocean, it's not that. Like you also have a lot of photosynthesis are happening. Okay? So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. It's not that only plants generate oxygen. There's algae, there's a lot of cyanobacteria things. And across the earth, even that has given the life to us. That has created life so that we can live. Okay? If you little bit read about how the atmosphere changed in the earth for the last billions of years, this is one reaction. The water splitting made the oxygen that enriched over a period of time. In the period is something like billions of years. That's you will be surprised to know. And what we do, anyway, that's something like I don't want to get into the detail, but the idea is how the light is harvesting. Because the nature photosynthesis, the light is used by the chlorophyll. That it is present in the leaf or in the bacteria. All these things are having these structures. That's one thing common in all the light harvesting system, either in the bacteria or in the plant. The kind of chlorophyll molecules are arranged something like this. It's like a rangoli that you have. Okay, it's like a cyclic. That's a common in all the light harvesting systems. That's one thing is very common, and that's where the impression of artificial photosynthesis comes. Scientists want to know, okay, even plant is able to do, how we can mimic it. The reaction is very simple. You take water and how we can split it to what hydrogen and oxygen. Now, this is a very challenging reaction and it will be a challenging for other several decades. Like 2 times, people are talking about something like a 70, will be having all the things by done by kind of hydrogen and other things. And this gentleman called Samishan, he has thought about 100 years back, right? 100 years back, it's something like 1912. Okay, we are in like 2023. It's almost like 110 years back. He thought that, okay, photochemistry is the way to go. Okay, so that with the photochemistry you can make new molecules. What he did was, he arranged a lot of organic molecules on the terrace, and he showed that the light can be harvested and it can be used for organic reactions. It's not now, around like 110 years back. But still, like, we are trying to find out how we can use the solar light. Now, people talk about, how to use it for photochemistry. Or what the plant does is that, as you said, it takes the carbon dioxide and water, carbon dioxide, water, and it's converted into oxygen and carbohydrate, right? And how we are getting oil, it's after billions of years or millions of years. It's not like just overnight reaction, right? Whatever the oil that we are, like we will be having for another 100 years or 200 years, we will be having for even our 1,000 years. But we are running out, right? So that's the idea is, whether can we use the sunlight to do some reactions so that, we don't have to wait for the millions years to come. Like, that's the idea. Of course, at the same time, we are also don't want this, pollute with the carbon dioxide more. Okay? So in this only, there are a lot of tremendous activity for the last 50 years. It's not that it started yesterday or something. Okay, how one can use the solar light so that somebody can convert into chemicals, that's solar fuels. How one can convert the light into electricity so that you don't have to wait for the biomass to transform to oil, then we have to burn it and you have to create the electricity. Why not? You can directly convert the sunlight into electricity and a lot of other things. Okay. Process. But something can happen along the line. Even there is a lot of effort by using sunlight and convert nitrogen into ammonia. Of course, we need some specific catalyst. That's where the knowledge is very important, how to create that catalyst. So you can think about, there are a lot of challenges in the chemistry, okay, and it will be very useful. And of course, in the area of pharma, yes, pharma is filled with the drugs, and how one can make very efficient one, all are organic molecules. Okay. And with this one, I think, this something, yesterday we heard about it, like, the top 10 problems, right? These are going to be it was there for last 20 years, and the order is not changed. Like, you need to worry about energy, water, food, environment, poverty, terrorism, disease, education, democracy. Of course, there are the list goes, but the top 3 you can always think of: energy, environment, and health. If any of your interest aligned with these things, and you are going to work along the line, and it will be a really good contribution. You may not solve the problem, but research is not like it's like, as I said, it's not a one-day game. You need to have patience and perseverance, and eventually, one day you will see the success. Okay. And I think with this, I conclude. Maybe if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, we can discuss. Maybe I don't want to go to much of my detail, like, this. Yeah, maybe I'll highlight what we do, okay? What we do is that I am an organic chemist. We make organic molecules. Basically, we synthesize organic dye molecules that absorbs the solar light. For example, what I'm trying to say is that we make molecules something like, this kind of aromatic molecules, and with a lot of synthesis. Basically, we use, this is very simple reaction. Do you know what is Fischer-Indole synthesis? Anybody have studied so far? Fischer-Indole synthesis. Okay? I think the second year students are not there. That's what you said, right? Yes. Yeah. It's a very simple aromatic, the heterocyclic compounds, one of the very efficient method to synthesize. We synthesize this compound and we alkylate it and we do some kind of condensation. Of course, this involves multi-step synthesis, but eventually we get this compound. Again, we purify, we characterize it. And one of the thing is, the very important thing is that absorption spectroscopy, where it absorbs. Okay? Yes, sunlight has a lot of wavelength, from 400 to 700. Then our molecules also works in this region, and we fabricate with these dyes, solar cells. For example, this is a typical, I don't want to get into detail. What I'm trying to say is that these molecules are active molecules that eventually capture the light and convert them into electricity. Okay? Maybe I'll stop it. Maybe, you can have some questions. Kelvi? No questions? No questions? Okay. If not, I think, if any of you are interested, I think you can contact madam and you can, write to me, we will try to help you out in any way, in any doubt or anything. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So, I would like to conclude this session. Sir, highly informative. Starting from your lecture, you have started national important institution. What are the institutions? What is the objective of this institution? How to reach this institution? And then started the historical background, then the photo light and other things. Sir, your lecture is highly important. Like our students, I think some of our students may irradiated through your talk. I hope future our student may irradiated, and also they may reach or expose some of the points you have explained through your lecture. I think, sir, though he is a senior most principal scientist, most of the CSIR lab people are like, they give the lecture like research oriented, but sir, from the bottom level, he come down and explain each and everything importance also. So thank you very much for this. You came and gave the lecture. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.